Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we're going to do some gameplay for the game Spring Prelude, Second Kharkov, May 1942. This is designed by Greg Blanchett and is published by Compass Games. Now, this uses the variable combat strength system that was originally started with SPI's Operation Typhoon game back in the late 70s. And so, interestingly enough, I will be doing some gameplay of that game as well for my new War Game Monsters series on Monster War Games, which that game certainly is. And this one isn't quite a monster. You might call it maybe a mini monster. It does not have, it only has 3 counter sheets. The map is large, but not a table buster. And, the system itself is fairly similar to that in Operation Typhoon. Now that I have read both rulebooks, they are somewhat similar. There are differences, of course, but there are similarities as well. And so you cannot see the entirety of the map here. You can see most of the width, I would say, perhaps all of the width, but you cannot see the height, I guess, would be how I would put it. And that's simply a function of my camera more than anything else. So this is why for monster games I would typically play on Vassal. However, for this game, there is no Vassal module yet. So we are going to play it on the map board. Now, there is a scenario 1, which only uses 1/2 of the map. And originally I was going to play that. And then I was saying to myself, well, why don't I try scenario 2, which is the historical scenario, the way the battle was fought, with the start point rules. You can see there are some counters on here that are, or stacks of counters in some cases, that are covered by white counters with a red symbol on it. That would indicate that those counters are basically frozen and not able to be used until a specific turn, ranging from turn 3 up through turn 8, I think. And so I've lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I was going to say something about that. But yes, this gives you both maps. Now, the Western map, which would be on the left side of the screen, is mostly empty currently, with most of the action centered around Kharkov itself, which is right here. As you can kind of guess there are some German units in and around the city itself. There are some hexes that have victory point totals in it, such as this guy right here, which has a 2. And yes, I'm standing at the top of the map currently. I will move around the map or the table, because the map is on the table. I will move around the table and point to different things as we go along. We have some bridged hexes. There's a bridge here. There's several other ones in other places. The big river, the Dnieper, is actually off camera because it's in the bottom left corner of the map. But the map does go as far as showing the Dnieper river as well. But so you can see the Soviets have themselves kind of a bulge, so to speak. And that bulge, you can't see the entirety of it, but it starts in this area and it goes down. And I can move the camera so you can see the kind of the buildup at the bottom of the map. So as you can see, this is the area I'm talking about. Now, these are the units that, in most cases, we have some turn 2s here, or turn 7, rather. Glasses. Woo! Turn 7, turn 4, turn 3s up here. There's some turn 8s over here, and down in this corner down here. They tend to be grouped together, but the Soviet bulge, I guess, would sort of kind of follow this area around. Now you have different colored units. This kind of darker tan, that is the southwestern front. That is the bulk of the Soviet army, or the Red Army if you prefer, as it prepares to try to recapture Kharkov. and obviously they can push from the south and from the east towards the city itself. Then you have these lighter colored ones that are down here. That's the southern front. They are largely, they are a much weaker, smaller force than the southwestern front. Okay, and now facing them on the German side, we have the we have several. Let me get my card out here so I can tell you exactly who we do have. In fact, yes. So we have the Sixth Army and the First Panzer Army and the 17th Army. So those are the German units that are basically strung out. 17th Army down here, and then you've got 1st Panzer and the 6th Army up further to the north. Of course, 6th Army is the famous army that was later surrounded and wiped out at Stalingrad. But that's in the future, so to speak, here in May of 42. So now that I've given you some background and kind of gone over the setup, let's start playing. Okay, so here's a look at the turn record track. And we are here. So this is the turn record track for scenarios 1 and 2. Scenario 3 is here and 4 is here. And so we're starting on May 12th. The weather, we'll use the historical weather. There is a system where you can roll for the weather. We will just use historical. It is clear. You can see the air points available to each side. The Soviets have 6. The Germans have 3. And our support points available for the Southwest Front is 10. For the Southern Front is 2. And on the German side, 6th Army has 6. 11th Army has 2. So that's the turn record track. And here we have our German tracks. So you have the replacement pool, which is currently empty, but then we have our available air points. So there are 3. And these markers go with historical units, and they also will have an at start or the date that they become available on the bottom. So this would be JG3, and it's available at start. And you can see you've also got like some bombers and stuff too. So you got LG2, and then this is JG77. So those are the 3 German air units. Now here's our replacement and support point track. We've got the 6th Army has 6 and the 17th Army has 2. There is also some rule stuff on here. That's also in the rule book, of course, but this is easy reference for out of supply, isolation, replacement point use, etc., etc. You got your air support table down here, your demolition table. Then the Germans can use off-map transit to move from the western map to the eastern map. At the very bottom of the map, and I'll try to show you this as well, there's very little room in terms of hexes from where the German line is to the end of the map. So they can exit units off the eastern map, for example, and then come in on the west, or vice versa. So if they get pushed off the map through retreat or whatever, they can exit and come in. Okay, now here's the Soviet track. And so you can see, well, here's I didn't show this on the other card, but this up here is the cost of actions in terms of your support points that you can spend, right? Each attack will cost 1. Rebuild a bridge is 1. Build an entrenchment is 1. Air supply attempt is 1. Use infantry replacement point is 1. Use mech replacement point is 2. And 2 would be for a Soviet HQ replaced. And the German one reads exactly the same. The Germans don't have HQs, so they don't have to worry about that point. Another thing I did neglected to talk about on the German one was the victory point track. The Germans start with 300, and it's based on ownership of the various cities and towns on the map. And we'll see those as we get into gameplay. And I know this preamble is kind of taking a long time, but I'm trying to set the stage well here. Soviet air points down here. They start with, as you can see, 7 times 10 is 70, and 5, the 100 marker, is on the 0, just as the times 10 marker for the support points for the Southern Front is also at 0. They have demolition table on theirs. which the Germans do as well, but they have and they have the same rules across here. So both players, now I'm playing solo, of course, but both players would have one of these where they can track their stuff and refer to some of the key rules regarding replacement points and supply as we start. Now, as we do start, speaking of supply, everybody's in supply, and there are some special rules for turn 1. So this is the scenario playing, number 2, and you can see initial deployment map, E and W, and then your setup, which I followed. Units may overstack during setup, and there are some that are. The scenario runs 1 to 10 for the battle version and 1 to 16 for the campaign version. So here's our special rules. The Soviet player gets a favorable column shift for all combats during the first turn due to surprise. The Germans were not expecting the Soviets to attack. They were preparing for their own offensive, Fall Blau. Axis artillery may not provide fire support during the first Soviet combat phase. Axis units which have been attacked during the first Soviet combat phase may move normally during the first Axis movement phase. There is a marker provided to help identify these units. Axis units within 3 hexes of a Soviet combat unit and units in hexes E2427 and E2926 may use half their movement allowance round down. All other Axis units may not move at all, on the first turn. On the first turn in which Axis units attack Soviet units on the southern front, higher level command, apply a favorable shift for all Axis-initiated combats against southern front units only due to surprise. Weather conditions for the first 2 turns are always clear and dry. No roll is made until turn 3. I am going to probably just use historical weather. Turn 4 historically was a rain-mud turn, so we may see that if I get that far. And an Axis restriction, additional support points from each turn may be given only to the 6th Army higher level command until turn 4. On this turn and until the end of the game, the Axis player may freely distribute support points between his 2 higher level commands. And for our victory conditions, we follow the default victory conditions to determine victory after either 10 or 16 turns. All right, we'll talk about that later. But we are now, for real, ready to play. So I wanted to show, and this is kind of an awkward angle, but I did want to show the corner of the map. So you got a whole bunch of Germans right here, and some Red Army, right? This is the southern front. This is the bottom right corner. This would be the southeastern corner of the map. And you can see that down here, we've got a German unit that's literally 1 hex from the edge. This one is actually on the edge. So these would be units that if, and they're not going to, but if the southern front was to attack them, they won't, because it'd be bad odds for them. But if they did and pushed them off the map, they could always come back in on the other side. They would go off map for a full turn, and then they would be able to come back. So most likely on the other map, I think. I would have to check the rule on that, but I think that's how it would work. So I lied. There were a couple more things I wanted to show before we get into the action. Scenario 2, replacements. This is the Soviet card for their scheduled replacements, which are listed here, and which turns they enter on. And then over here, you've got their variable reinforcement chart. Now, the Germans' variable reinforcement is a lot bigger than this, and we'll see that in a moment. But it tells you what units, the turn, and then what your die roll is needed, so you can start trying to get them, right? Because the release turn, so you can roll ahead of time until you get that, and then again, these are the units that you would get. And then this one is one that would be used in scenario 3, which is the high risk scenario, and scenario 4 is kind of the low risk scenario. And here we have the Germans. So I actually put the counters on the German one, and I'll probably do the same for the Soviets. I just have not done it yet. So again, they have the high risk option, which is not what we're playing, so we would ignore that. But you can see their list is significantly larger than the Soviet list, and then they have these guys that arrive on various turns. So what this says is the Soviets need to try to make hay early, because the Germans will get stronger as the game goes on. And of course, ultimately, the Germans did win this battle, and launched Fall Blau and got all the way to Stalingrad before things kind of fell apart when the Soviets counterattacked. So, lastly, but certainly not least, we have the chits for the variable strength. So you pull out of here. They are red ones, which are stronger, and then there are these blue ones, which are less strong. Both sides draw from both, depending on the counter. And the counters that would be something like this. This is a Soviet unit. And you can see the B, it's blue, so you draw a blue and you look at the B column. And if it's full strength, you use the white side. And if it's reduced, you would use the other side. So that is what that is for. And now I think we really are ready to start playing. Okay, so here's our game turn outline, right? Preparation phase, or stage rather, we don't really need to use because, like I said, we're going to use the historical weather. Then you've got your accounting phase, and there at C, you have the mutual air segment. Okay, so number of air points available is determined. We already know that. Okay, Axis Soviet interdiction or paradrop, which is an optional rule I will not use. They can be conducted. So interdiction, you can place one interdiction mission on the map, and that basically kind of is a good way to slow down the opponent. The key thing here in turn one is the rule is if one side has twice as many air points as the other or more, the smaller side can't conduct interdiction. In this case, the Soviets have 6 and the Germans have 3. So some quick math would indicate the Germans cannot do any interdiction. So they cannot slow down any of the Soviet units here that are about to attack. So then we would go to the Soviet player turn. Replacement points. Spend available replacement points. We don't have to do that. We don't have any eligible depleted or eliminated units. Movement phase. Soviet player may start building entrenchments or repairing bridges. All friendly units may now move within the limits of the terrain effects chart. Reinforcements may arrive and move onto the map. Okay, so that's what we're going to do right now. Okay, so this is the northeastern corner of the map. And what I want to do here is talk about briefly how you use support points. So on the Soviet side, it's a little different from the German side. On the Soviet side, as we mentioned a moment ago, you have headquarters, and here's one here, and here's one here. Okay, so headquarters have a command range, and the units they can supply with support points for offensive operations, right? Because you have to spend one to attack. They, excuse me. So you have points on here that indicate what the range is, and they have to match the color. So in this case, you have Gordov here, and he's got a yellow box, so he would be the supply source for units with yellow boxes. There's some that basically stop here. The border between the two is pretty much right along here. And then you've got the pink, right? And then we also have green, which is down for a little further south. Actually, you can't see the pink either because I'm too far zoomed in. So we're going to talk about Gordov here first. So on Gordov's counter here, he's got a 1 and a 4, right? And then in the middle, he's got an 8. That's his command range. So as long as they're within 8 hexes of him, without going through any German zones of control, which break line of communication, then the unit can be commanded, essentially, or afforded support points necessary to actually conduct an attack. But we're not quite at the fighting part yet. We are now in our movement phase. Okay, so we can move units, and let's do so. So let's move some forces up here to make an attack. So let's see. Let's take this unit from the 301. Now he's on a road hex. Okay, so his movement factor is a 5, or his movement allowance. Now on the road, if we check our terrain effects chart, so it's a little bit confusing on here. Down at the bottom, you can see the in the purplish pink color there, road strategic. It says 1.5 for F, and that's but it says strategic for both. So and there's supposedly a tactical road movement rate. I think it's 1. So I'm just going to assume it's 1, and we're going to use that. So he's going to go 1, 2. Okay. Now he's going to move here, and that is woods, and he's non-mech, so that would cost him 2. So that would be 4, and then he has to stop there. Okay. Then we can do the same with this guy also from the 301. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we're probably not going to attack up here this turn because the odds won't be good. The Germans are sitting here in an entrenchment. Okay. The hexes that have the full circle, full colored circle, are entrenchments, and then down here you maybe, I don't know if you can actually see it. Here's one. This kind of dotted line. This is pink because it's Soviet. That's an improved position. So that's how you would tell an improved position versus an entrenchment. And these are the ones that are on map. You can actually build them as well with engineer units. Okay, so we moved that one and this one. Now we can move this guy here. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then he is a mech unit. We're in dry conditions. And if he moves into the woods, that would be 3. And I lost count. So I forget where we were. 1, 2, 3, 4. He was here, I'm pretty sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 14. We'll put him, actually, we'll put him right. Yeah, we'll put him here. Okay. Now you'll see some of these are spread out, right? The Germans have a line that's spread out, but they have a bunch of zones of control, right? So there's a zone of control here from these two here. Now there's no Zoc bond like in the Simonich series, but there are zones of control in here as well. So, okay, so now let's see what else do we want to do here. Now down here we have a whole bunch of stuff, right? And I don't know that I'm going to really move any of this up because we have some turn 3 releases here, and we've got plenty in here with which to spend our 18 support points for attacks. So we're just going to sit tight for the moment and try not to get ourselves into an overstack problem, so to speak. And I realize now you can't see what I'm pointing at. So this is the area I was talking about. Here are the units that won't be released until turn 3. This is a big cluster, and Kharkov itself is right here. Okay, so that's the edge of it right there. So that is, of course, the main goal of the offensive. That is worth a lot of points. Something like 60. I think it's like 10 per hex. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 hexes. So that would be like 60. That's a big chunk of victory points. Okay, so moving even further south. Now we are in the area of Moskalenko here. And his command range is also an 8. It's the same for all of these guys, actually. And there are more headquarters, of course, but for now, that's what we've got here. So with a range of 8, now we've got kind of a decent amount of, we don't have a lot behind this. So this is where things get tricky. There's really 2 areas where you're going to attack early. This one, and then there's one over here as well that's kind of built up in that area, which we'll get to here in a moment. So you can see there's not a lot of movement that I might want to do here. And in terms of like doing engineering stuff, like building a bridge, like there's a bridge hex here, but there's a German on one side of it, so you can't do it, and because you need to control both sides. So we do have a bridge up here, which is off shot at the moment, I think. And yeah, and there's a bridge down here as well. So really what we're looking at right here is there's not a lot of movement necessarily that we can do, but we can do some stuff in here, right here. Sorry about that. That's the chair right here, right? Because we have these two units, and it is they are in an entrenched hex right now. But we've got some punch here, although they won't get any integrity bonuses because they're from different units. But I could get one if I moved him here, perhaps. Now the issue is the stream that's in the way there, right? So the stream adds +1 to the movement cost, but it is moving into clear terrain, and there's a road there as well. And I don't think. Well, let me clarify. I'm looking at the map, the terrain effects on the map to determine if that is a stream or a swollen stream. I think that's a swollen stream, so that might change things. That is a swollen stream. So actually, because the weather's clear, the swollen stream doesn't matter. But if we had when I shouldn't say if, when we have a rainy turn, this will be a swollen stream and we won't be able to cross it, but we can cross it now. So he's going to move here. And by doing so, he moves into the zone of control of both this unit and that one. So, but we've now put a little bit more of a punch in here in terms of support. So we have an engineer, and we also have a couple of infantry units with which to attack. And then we have an artillery unit here, which can support the attack as well. And then I'll decide what we want to do with these two guys. I'm not going to move them, but we'll see, because this guy's a B and it's a red B, so he's a fairly powerful unit, most likely. It does depend on what we draw out of the cup here when we do combat. All right, in terms of other things we may want to do, let's see. Let's move. This guy's upside down. I think he was here, right? Let's see. What do we want to do here? 1. This is clear terrain. It's just a level 2 terrain. 1, 2, 3. Let's do that. I'm going to put him there. Now we've got 3, these 2. We've got these 2 units, plus some artillery that can attack that guy, and we're going to move this guy up as well. He's also going to cross the stream and go there. So now we can put a good amount of pressure on this guy whose back is to the water, and there's an artillery unit here as well if I decided I wanted to attack that. We can also jump the water here. So the water costs us an extra 1, and we'd be moving into woods, I think, or is that marsh? That might be that's marsh, actually. So wooded marsh is 3, so that would be 4 to move into that hex, but he can do it, and so can this engineer. So let's do that. We're going to move up, and we're going to move him up, and we're going to move him up into here. Okay, so we are getting ready to make an attack on the Germans here, obviously. Now, looking at these guys over here, sorry, I bumped the camera. I'm not sure exactly that I want to move anybody. It's tempting to move these up, perhaps, And you know what? Let's do it. Move him here. And we're going to move him here. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. These guys get released on turn 2. And then the rest of them, these are all turn 4, and down below is some turn 7. Now over here, I think I'm going to keep this second line kind of intact. And we got 2 C's here, which if we draw well, and the Germans don't, but there's a blue, that's blue, so that's typically a little weaker, but we can attack that guy with both of these. So that would be worthwhile as well. And looking further south, we're pretty much at the end of the line for the Southwestern Front, but not quite. Here's the tail end of the Southwestern Front, these units right here, and then we've got Southern Front starting right there. So we're going to take, well, they've got a nice stack there. I'm not sure what I want to do here, because that's a B. Nobody's in an enemy zone of control here either. I feel like there's a gap here that the Germans could exploit if they wanted to. So let's just move this guy up 1 hex. Put him right there. That closes that hole. I mean, he's a 4, but it's also on higher ground, if that matters. I'm not sure if it does. Anyway, in terms of other things to do, I'm looking at the Southern Front units here. And honestly, I'm reluctant to do anything with them right off the bat. So I think that's going to be it for our movement phase, and then we will go to combat. So combat may take place between adjacent units at the phasing player's discretion. Okay. Well, let's see. We'll probably go back to the top and start up there. So briefly looking at this, I'm not going to attack because we'd be attacking across water, and that would, I think, have an impact. Maybe. Maybe it doesn't. The defender's terrain, but the combat ratios. So here's our CRT, right? And you can see you've got terrain for the defender and how that affects, right? City, wooded marsh, woods, marsh, clear, and then various combat ratios as you go up, and then the results, right? So there's a lot of A's, which would be attacker losses, in the first column on the left, which is what you would expect. The Soviets do get 1 column shift to the right here in the first turn. So perhaps we will do an attack. Maybe we'll do something basic, right? We've got a 4 to 2. So that would be a 2 to 1. And his terrain is woods. So it would be in this column right here. And if we go to 2 to 1, that's this column or row, the white row, and 2 to 1. And then we would roll our 2d6. And this is the possible result. So, and I realized you couldn't see any of that, but here are our 2 dice. I'm just going to roll them on the map, actually, out of, we can try to do it here. We got a 4 and a 2, so that's a 6. And a 6 under the 2 to 1, right here, 6, 2 to 1 is right here. A1, R1. Okay, now if you look at the results, right? Letters preceding results indicate to whom results apply. A is attacker, D defender, right? Makes sense. Bold are split results. That was not a split result. Final ratio is greater. Yeah. Attacker may take Oh, I totally forgot. That was actually a 3 to 1 because I didn't take the column shift. So the 6 in there would become this, which is a split result. A1, D1, R1. Okay. Now, this is not a variable strength unit right here. Oh, it's this one. Not a variable strength unit, so we don't have to worry about that. Drawing a chit, but I'll show you that here in a little bit. Okay, so let's look at this unit. Does it have anything on the back? He does. Okay, so some units will have a cadre version on the back and some won't. This one does. He has to retreat 1 hex, so he will do so. Now the attacker also lost a step, and he also does have a cadre side. So he is here. And what terrain is he in there? I guess he can, well, here's the thing. He can advance, but I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Because he's weak. I guess he will. Yes, he will. He's going to move up. So he's going to take that hex. Now here, we'd have a 1-to-1 basically, but again, you get the column shift. So let's try this one. Yeah, I didn't like that result. I didn't feel like the dice actually moved much. That's a 5. So that's a 5, and it's going to be in the 2-to-1 column because of the free shift. So 5 under 2-to-1 is A1, R2. Okay, A1, R2. So he has to retreat 2. So he'll go 1, 2. He can move up and he gets flipped. Now, in terms of support points, we've used 2 because we've done 2 attacks, right? This guy and this guy have both attacked. Now let's move down to this big mega area down here, and then we're going to start getting into some complicated stuff because there's a lot of counters piled up down there. We have 16 points left here, and let's see. So you can see there's a bunch of, well, not a bunch, there's a couple of turn 3s over here. There's also some over here. Okay, so our headquarters in this case is, at least in terms of the tannish units, or pink, or what, I don't know what color you'd call that. But anyway, it's Ryabyshev. He is our overall commander, and I forget where he was. I got to stop picking these guys up because I don't remember where they were. And I could refer to the setup, but I won't. I don't think it matters that much. Anyway, let's do an attack, okay, with some of his units. So down here, probably should get tweezers. Okay, I am notoriously fumble-fingered with tweezers, so bear with me. Shaky hands here. All right, so we have a B, a red B, and a blue B. Okay, so if they were going to attack, let's say, this guy, there's a red A and the engineer unit. And they are in, that's a, I'm going to also attempt to use air support on here. And for that, we roll a die. And for the Soviets, since the Germans don't have an anti-aircraft unit in that hex, we need a 1-to-3. And we got a 4, so it actually fails. Sorry, there it is. It fails. Now let's draw our chits. So for the Russians here, we got a blue B, and a red B. So here's a red B, full strength. And that's a 10. That's pretty strong. All right, so I'm just going to stick this on there for now, just as a placeholder. And the blue one, we'll draw one out, and 6 for the B. Okay, so pretty good. 16. Now the Germans have one as well, and it is a red A. So this could be really bad. So let's draw one out of here. And it is, oof, a 13. 13. Okay, good one for the Germans. So they have 14 total, right? You're supposed to tuck this underneath, but you can see, right, it's a 13 because he's an A, red A. So I'm going to tuck it underneath. They also have this engineer who gives 1 more. So the Germans have 14. They are on a victory point hex worth 2, right here. Ternivova, it is a village. That's what the white border on the hex indicates. And the Russians are attacking with 20 No, not 20. 16. 16. So 16 to 14 is, as you can no doubt tell, a 1-to-1. So 1-to-1. I'm just going to leave these over here for the moment, and we will roll. And let's see what we get. We got an 11. So it becomes 2-to-1, and this is going to probably be good for the, it's A1, R2. So they're going to lose a step. Okay, so we will take it from, I think, the blue unit, the armored unit. So what happens is we take this guy and we flip it over, and that 6 is now a 3. Okay, and if he takes another loss, he goes to his cadre side, and this strength shit goes away. All right, so these guys have to retreat 2 hexes. So they will go 1, 2, and then these guys will jump into that hex and take it and earn themselves, or earn the Soviets 2 victory points. 2 victory points right there, giving them 77. Okay, now let's try something new, try something different, right? Try something that, well, I think this guy was on this stack right here. He's a B. There's 2 Bs here. So they were in this stack right here. So, oh, I forgot the column shift for integrity bonus. So they actually would have gotten a 3-to-1 result there, which would have been A1/D1R1. So they would have lost this. They still lose a step. The attacker, the defender loses a step as well, but only retreats 1. I think in this case, the Germans would rather keep their units intact and just retreat 2. So we'll just go with that. All right, so we have to draw a couple of blue Bs here. So I'll do that. Draw 2 out at once. And we get a 3 and a 6. So you can see some of the variety in the values there, 3 and a 6. All right, so they're the same kind of unit, so that's why I could do that. They're both armor. And then this guy. Wait, that's not, is that? I think that is the one that flew over there. Or was it this artillery unit? I don't think it was. No, it wasn't. So we also have a red C to pull out, I guess. All right, and that one is a 7. So we've got 7, and then 3 more is 10, and 6 more is 16, and this one is 2, so that's 18 for the attackers. Now the German defender here is a C. So let's pull this out as well. And he's a 4. 4. Okay. So that is 4-to-1. With the column shift, these are all the same unit, I think. Maybe not. They do get the column shift, so they're going to roll on a 5-to-1 here. And we got a 7. And 7 on the 5-to-1 is A1/D1R1. So the split means the attacker can elect to take an extra loss to take the hex, if I remember correctly. But that would not be necessary in this case because they would already be retreating because they did get an R1. So D1, R1, right? It was a 7 under 5 to 1. Am I in the right column though? I think I'm in the, oh, that is clear. So I am in the right column. So it's this one right here, A1/D1R. So both sides lose a step and the Germans have to retreat 1. So they will back up to here, I would say, because they can't retreat next to this unit or they would lose another step. So they get flipped to that side, which is a strength of 3. And now these guys have to lose 1 as well. We'll take 1 from this guy who had a B3. That's a pretty low chit anyway, so now he's a 1. And we will move up into this hex right. What's this one right here? Okay, so you can see the stacks kind of get a little high and unwieldy because of the strength chits. That's just a nuance of the system, so to speak. So let's, ideally I would do like a multi, I'm trying to find one where I could do a multi-hex attack. Because let's just say, for the sake of argument, that right here, right, you have, if we had a German unit here, okay, we don't, but if we did, we could do a multi-hex attack of have this guy attack there and have this guy attack there and do it as one combat. So you save some support points, I think. Maybe not. Because I think you use 1 for each unit that's attacked, and I just realized I haven't been keeping track. So I think that we used 3 up here and 4 here, so that's 7 more. That would leave them with 9. Yeah, so 9. But I think the video has gotten long enough that I may want to wrap it up anyway. I did want to show some play on this. I won't do all of it for video, only because it's time consuming and people seem to check out after a little bit. But I will play some more, and I hope, and I'm planning on doing a review to kind of talk about the stuff that I like about the system. And I haven't really found anything I don't like aside from the stacks. And then, perhaps when the Vassal comes out, I may do a long play, right? That's what I call it. That's my series for longer sessions of games, would be my long play LP series. So yeah, maybe I'll do an LP on this, because there are other games I need to get to, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your particular point of view. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. I can babble forever, but I will stop doing it for you right now. I'll have pity on you, as they say. Anyway, yeah, that's going to do it. I'll wrap it up here. So, as always, you have any questions or comments, you can put them in the old comment section, and I will do my best to reply as soon as possible. I did hope, or I do, I shouldn't say did, I do hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll come back and check out something else down the road. And if coming back as a subscriber would be something you'd be willing to do, that'd be fantastic. I do have my goal of hitting 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. I am at 4,270 some odd right now, so it's not too far out of reach. It's not out of reach at all, honestly, in my opinion, but it is going to be somewhat of a stretch at the current pace of subscriptions. So hopefully you find my channel useful and interesting enough to click the old subscribe button, click the bell if you want to get notified when stuff comes up on the channel. I try to post, I think, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 times a week. Occasionally less if, life gets in the way, which it has a tendency to do from time to time. But in general, I do hit 5 videos a week pretty regularly. So, and they're all typically either first looks with rules overview, so more than your typical unboxing. I try to delve into the rule set a little bit for your benefit, and the other ones would all be gameplay videos. So, as I said, that's going to do it. So I'm going to sign off now. This, again, is Spring Prelude. This is from Compass Games, designed by Greg Blanchett. And you'll see more of that particular tandem of publisher and designer, because I do plan on doing other things in this same general time frame and area, hint, hint, from Mr. Blanchett and Compass Games. There are 2 other games. If you are, as they say, in the know, you would know what I'm talking about. But anyway, if you don't know, I'm going to leave you in suspense. So, haha, you can go find out easily in various places on the internet. Anyway, enough. I'm going to torture you no longer. So for now, I am saying adios. I am Joe. This is Hexed Encountered. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.